scaling digital currencies. Over to you, Jason.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much, okay, for that introduction. Okay, great work. I hope everyone has been enjoying the conference. Dato' Fazli Shah is the CEO of MX Exchange, and today I'm very lucky, okay, to have Faz, okay, to have a casual chat. Okay, Faz, how are you?
Hey, Jason, and thanks to everyone at Iskandar and Ignite for having us today. I'm superb, man. I mean, it's a cool and windy day, so I think a nice note to kind of get into what I hope will be a hot topic of cryptos today.
We have a lot to cover. Okay, but let's first, okay, congratulations, okay, for MX. Now, time really flies in the pandemic era, right? MX is already 1 year, sorry, 1 month old. I'm sorry, 1 month old. Okay, sometimes in crypto, 1 month can feel like a year. How is MX doing, okay, since launch?
Yeah, great. So, we're really grateful to have been successful at the application and been awarded the license as basically a registered market operator, as what the SEC calls DEX, right? The Digital Asset Exchange. I think the team is really resilient, and over the last couple of months, really, like, because we're really leading into that launch, we're trying to take the focus into kind of being really data driven. So we're super grateful for if any of you guys are MX users right now or investors listening in, we're super thankful for you having joined in the last month or so that we've gone live, and we continue to kind of iterate with that with our internal user base to kind of understand better how to improve the user experience, and of course to kind of plan ahead of what kind of products to kind of bring on board next.
Okay, so we have such a volatile month. Okay, right now we are in September. Okay, there are just two more days before the month is over. We had a really volatile month. We had the recent I think the biggest news, okay, being China, right? Banning cryptocurrencies, okay, basically anything is the central bank has already issued a statement saying that everything, okay, that is cryptocurrency related transactions are all illegal. So we had such a volatile month. Bitcoin has recovered, it's come down again, it's recovered, it's come down again. For those who are listening out there who are just beginners, cryptocurrency, can you maybe share what is your macro outlook? What is your outlook zooming out, okay, of where the cryptocurrency industry is right now and where we're going?
Sure. I mean, I'd love to zoom out, not just from an outlook of like the global economy, but also if we zoom out the timeline, right? Crypto is super early, right? The blockchain in itself, so many developments. I mean, I'm listening to all of the discussions today. There's so many things in the pipeline which will be super exciting, not just at the Malaysia level, but also at the global level, traceability, the kind of stuff that we've been seeing come out of sandboxes or things like a sandbox all over the world. And of course, a lot of the DAOs or the decentralized organizations, kind of like how they're changing the face of what is possible with blockchain and crypto. So we look at market cap as a measure, right? So early this year, it's taken a good a decade or so to kind of get to $1 trillion, and then we've looked at that double within 6 months, really, in that year to $2 trillion. And of course, there's this volatility that you mentioned, but from a macro level, number one, I think that Bitcoin and Ethereum will still continue to be dominant. The two of them together kind of make up 60% of that, trading volume globally. But also we start seeing a lot of regulators becoming more and more involved, more and more educated, caught up into the scene. So even regionally, you look at Malaysia versus Singapore versus Indonesia, the stance and the strategies that they've taken have been different. But I think it's a better situation than maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where kind of a lot of it was kind of very blurry lines. So I think as some of those strategies start being a lot more clear to the industry and the audience, it's only going to give a lot more confidence to the retail and ultimately the institutional investors coming in, right? Because I think that's part of what they need to know. I think the volatility is healthy because it makes it quite an exciting asset class. But I think ultimately investors want to know, where do I sit in the grand scheme of things of where this kind of product or asset class will move, as an industry and category overall.
So in your opinion, right? Of the two, which do you think, okay, will lead adoption more first, the retail or the institution?
Yeah, I think because of the nature of, let's call them like the tickets, right? The entry tickets, the minimal amount that you need to kind of invest into crypto, and because of the kind of regulatory hurdles that maybe some institutional guys are already tied to, right? To kind of expose themselves or build out a crypto kind of portfolio. I definitely think retail will lead the way, at least the initial adoption, right? Crypto is one of those where you don't really need a huge checkbook to be able to enter and be active in. So something very kind of retail friendly in terms of the investment size. But as we have seen in the last couple of years, when institutionals kind of, then become more focused and clearer in their strategy of how they would be able to adopt some of this either directly into their own supply chains or portfolios, or just as an investment asset class, then it kind of changes the game because it flips things around, right? You brought up the issue just now of like a lot of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. What I find most interesting was one interview where, I think for a long time people have said this crypto kind of asset class is immune to everything else. It doesn't move with the equities market, it doesn't move with the bond market. But what we've seen is that when essentially the movement of the last couple of weeks, and I am paraphrasing here, but you have basically a giant player based out of China who is looking at coming very close to kind of the end of the term of their fixed income based product, right? And at the same time, you have China as a country saying ban. And again, I think those of you who have been in crypto for a couple of years know that this is not the first time China's announced a ban, right? But nonetheless, all of those asset classes, equities, fixed income or loans, and crypto kind of moved in this, I wouldn't say direct correlation, but all with towards the same direction, right? Which was kind of a market correction. So again, I think this is because institutionals and regulators are kind of starting to be more aligned and more active in this space, that there is going to be that kind of factor that now adds in. So it's not, I wouldn't say it is going to be totally independent as an asset class. We have to look at like how all of these factors kind of play into each other.
Got it. So number one, okay, quite a few takeaways from there. Retail, one thing that cryptocurrencies and digital assets bring onto the picture and on the table is that it's more accessible, okay, to the retail because of the ticket size, right? There's a lot more work to be done. My question to you is, so what in your opinion is still missing and still lacking in the industry, and what role do you think MX can play into helping more people to adopt and enjoy digital assets?
Yeah, I believe one of the earlier panels were talking about fundraising, right? And really about this concept about what is the difference between crypto blockchain versus fintech. Sure, we could argue that it is a variant or related to fintech, but essentially blockchain is not, and crypto is really not innovating on the existing financial instruments. It's a parallel track, right? You're really giving birth to a new parallel ecosystem. If you take blockchain as kind of like what a lot of people quote them as like a new way of designing the network of money, right? And Ethereum as a kind of like a smart contract layer, and of course both of these have contenders. So I don't necessarily think anything is, I wouldn't say it's as easy as saying what's missing. I rather look at like what is next, right? Because we don't want to paint a pessimistic picture and say, oh, these things are not complete. To be honest, the industry and ecosystem can operate as they have now with the kind of products, but what's the next category of products that's going to push it forward? And what we see really happening globally is you see this rise of this concept of decentralized finance, basically reinventing how you kind of, in the stereotypical or traditional market, how you might deposit money into a bank, how that bank then lends it out, how that the one borrowing from the bank then grows that money and then it ultimately pays back. So this staking and lending kind of protocol, I think, is very, very exciting, especially when you look at the context of Malaysia's economy, where the majority of our businesses are SMEs. Most financing is not accessible to them. Is this something that DeFi can bring to the fore in terms of accessible and ultimately fast turnaround finance, right? if you look at China, the Alibaba group has something where like within 3 minutes they can give you, and this is not a DeFi proposition, but they've innovated on fintech to kind of give you within 3 minutes an approval of a small micro loan for your business.
Yeah.
So are we able to realize something like that based on blockchain and crypto? Right. I think that will be a huge game changer for Malaysia.
Very, very interesting. So I think you just pivoted that into DeFi right now, and that's really, really interesting because DeFi offers, DeFi has grown tremendously. Kan, the last 1 year. I remember when we did Southeast Asia DeFi Week last year and we had Ave on the show, right? The total, at that time, Ave had 80 million total value locked, okay? Ave had 80 million total value locked. Today, Ave has 24 billion. So that's a huge jump from 80 million, okay? That's how fast, okay, the DeFi, okay, has grown in terms of adoption. Total DeFi market total value locked, okay, which means that these money, right, okay, are locked in these protocols. Last year in June, started at kind of like 1 billion, just recovered from COVID crash. Then in a week, it doubled to 2 billion. And then in a month, it doubled to 4 billion. And then in August, it doubled to 8 billion. And then fast forward, if you go to DeFi Pulse right now, okay, the total value locked in all DeFi protocols is 80 billion, right? So that's a lot of money, okay, there. And we as Malaysians, we have the potential, okay, to tap into that. And we can, if what's that, the regulators, okay, are open, okay, to talk about it, right? I think, like Aave, just only today announced, okay, their permission pool, right? Where institutions potentially, okay, can, so Aave, although it's a decentralized protocol, right? But they are building the on-ramps. So to allow, regulated players who have all these KYC requirements to basically plug in, so that they can access, okay, this line of credit. So all these, okay, is like super, super interesting. What about NFTs? What are your thoughts about NFTs? NFTs have also boomed a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, number one, okay, so we take it from kind of like I would say like this, the leading cryptos, right? Like Bitcoin, Ethereum, that people are more familiar with, and then going into those protocols like DeFi. Ultimately, what you saw was kind of this idea of colored coins, where different coins in different protocols held different rights, and so you could do different things, all based on smart contracts, right? NFT takes it to like the other end of the spectrum, where no two coins are the same. Essentially, that's why it's in the name, right? Non-fungible. So no two coins are the same. And I believe in the real world, this brings like a limitless potential to kind of tokenize almost everything in the world, right? So if you look from something like your car and my car, two different things, two different NFTs, two plots of land or houses, again, could exist as NFTs. And I think bringing some of those things onto the blockchain via like, essentially a protocol like NFTs, right? Or a standard like NFTs, you could change the way commerce and ownership is done in the real world. What we've been seeing in the last year, of course, is my personal argument, like all new technologies are always adopted earliest in entertainment and, yeah. So I think those kind of use cases are the most obvious because that's what builds a hype. That's what also kind of lends towards a lot of the market confidence building, right, and awareness. But ultimately, I spend a lot of time asking, like, if it starts with that, where does that ultimately lead to, right? What's the major utility within the real world? Not to say that the current NFTs don't have utility. I think it's, projects like, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? You see things being built in the metaverse or Decentraland. I mean, and you said this now, right? 1 billion going to 80 billion, like just the amount of resources and commitment that people are putting into these things, it's insane. It really goes to show that this blockchain and crypto world is truly borderless, right? people are going to go in from wherever they are for the projects that they really want to support, because they may believe into either the immediate product or the long-term proposition of where that's headed. So coming back to something that you touched on just now, whether regulators are going to be more open, I think the most important question to ask first is like, how are we engaging the regulators to kind of, I don't want to say educate them, right? But because if there's 1,000 things all moving in different directions, which are all within this digital asset kind of space, which one do you alert to the attention of the regulator first? Because which one has the most potential and has to be looked at, with the highest priority. So I do think NFTs, because they are one for one, okay, like they're unique in that sense, it is a much easier kind of topic, I guess, for a regulator to kind of confront, rather than when you look at something which could transcend multiple use cases, right? So yeah, I do think the SE is looking into the space, and I think it is not going to be the same treatment that they gave Bitcoin and Ethereum, for example, right? It's
Right.
In many ways more clear cut.
Right. I think we are able to get some gauge of what the community thinks, because based on their questions, right? They are asking you like questions like, how long do you think, okay, before we can see things like earning, okay, staking, lending, okay, in platforms, okay, like MX, instead of just trading, okay, at the present moment.
Yeah, I think what we have to be cognizant of is that motivated investors are going to go to these products no matter where they're available, right? And the way that I see things right now, the current state of the DEX or digital asset exchange kind of development in Malaysia with the regulators is that, yes, the most important thing is like, we need to know that Jason is opening a wallet and Jason's investing ringgit into Bitcoin and Ethereum. But we shouldn't be so short-sighted and naive to think that Jason will always just remain on that platform. If Jason really wants to go and stake his coins or go into a CeFi, DeFi or NFT type project, he's going to go to those platforms anyway.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's a very strong undertone. And of course, internally in MX, we're measuring and researching this areas so that we can go back to regulators with real numbers at the very best, at the very least, with educated guesses of like how much movement of Malaysian-based capital is going to those spaces. Definitely, I think lending is one of the probably simpler and easier to understand protocols that I think the SC should be kind of looking into quite seriously. When we get into this idea of staking and then staking pools, and then because then the money kind of goes many different ways, or not the money, but the assets go in many different ways. I think that's a more complex conversation. But nonetheless, I think these are all conversations in the broad DeFi space, intertwined with NFTs also in some cases, right? Are conversations that we as the market operators need to have with the regulators.
Got it. So what I'm getting from you is that number one, it's important, okay, to be cognizant, okay, that these kinds of like, basically, if we are going to introduce these products, the people that we are ultimately targeting for are the people from the traditional money, right? Okay, basically are looking for yield. Hence, okay, this is the kind of products, okay, that they that should be prioritized, okay, and should see this, okay, in the next I don't know, 12 to 18 months. Anyways, that I thoroughly enjoyed this fireside chat. Okay, our time is up. I wish that we had longer time. We could have talked about a lot more things, but it has been an extreme pleasure. I'd like to thank, okay, Iskandar, IIBV, for inviting us, okay, to be part of the program today. Thank you very much.